Right, so that was a very action-packed game. Nottingham Forest losing 4-3 at St James's Park today against Newcastle, of course. If this was the first half only, I would have been far, far more frustrated and angry about the game because that first half was horrendous and probably as bad as it's got this season. Definitely as bad as it's got this season. But the second half, I think there's a lot to be encouraged by there. The fact that we didn't give up and, we actually really got very close to getting an unlikely point out of it. But we'll talk about that in due course. But the lineup for this game I was happy with because we brought Dominguez back in. I was calling to bring him back in because I think he deserved to come back into the side, and Hudson-Odoi also being back was massive. Going back to that back four is what we, I think, all wanted to see. And it looked early on like it was definitely the right decision. Hudson-Odoi coming in and immediately making an impact, pressing, I think it was Lewis Miley, into a mistake. And he scored one of his somewhat trademark goals from outside the box. It's always how he tends to score. And I was thinking, that is fantastic. Newcastle player on the ball, clearly a bit nervous. Hudson-Odoi pressing, really getting stuck in, making it difficult for them, put under pressure. We score a goal from it. I was thinking, that is fantastic. That's more like it, having, of course, had a few rocky games recently. But then we proceed in this whole that first half after that to not do that at all and completely sit off Newcastle in every way we possibly could. There was multiple times where the ball was just back to Newcastle's defence and we were just sitting, just in our shape. And okay, yeah, you want to maintain your shape, which we certainly didn't do throughout that whole first half defensively. But you're inviting so much pressure by doing that and giving Newcastle so much time. And I'm going to praise us in the second half because we deserve that. But the first half was just atrocious. You know, how do you score a goal by pressing the opposition like that? Exactly what you should do. And then just sit off them, inviting so much pressure, time wasting. Matt Sells had a bit of a mare with the penalty. It was just a bit of a joke how he dived. I don't even really know what he did. He catapulted himself into the net. I think early on, actually missing the catch, which resulted in a corner. I don't think that really helped his confidence. And then obviously he conceded 4 times in 12 minutes. Good old Forest going back to their roots there. Very, very poor to do that. Game management all over the place in that first half. To go from one of the best defences in the whole league and country to conceding 15 in 5 games is very concerning. And, you know, we've said a few times now when Forest have lost this season, which still hasn't been very often really, we've imploded. And not so much against Fulham, but we've imploded. And that first half was as bad as it can get really, and I'm very disappointed by that, and I'm very concerned that we can see that again this season, and the fact that we saw it against Bournemouth as well. It is concerning that we still have that capitulation side of us within us. But then what frustrates me more is the fact that the second half we won. I'm not going to say we were amazing because we weren't. We were 4-1 down, but you've got to give us massive credit for getting back into that game. And I know Newcastle also dipped quite significantly. They barely had a shot in that second half, but you know, if we kept playing like we did, then it would have just been probably a boring second half. We made it interesting, not just by Newcastle dipping. We had to severely raise our level to get anywhere in that game. And all of a sudden, you know, so much pressure, so much energy, desire, will. Brilliant. It's just, you know, it's basic stuff really. But I really enjoyed watching us in that second half because we actually gave Newcastle something to think about. Exactly how we scored that goal. That Hudson-Odoi goal was by giving them something to think about, and then we just sat off, conceded 4 times, and then we, in the second half, did exactly that and got 2 goals out of it. Nikola Milenkovic, of course, a bit of a cheeky goal, really, the way he scored it. It was a good goal from him, and he could easily have had a couple more, some good headers. Murillo's had a couple of good chances, and then Ryan Yates off the bench, proving doubters wrong again, getting, right place, right time sort of goal, but he got an important goal, and at this stage, we really thought we could get back into it and get an unlikely point out of that game. So, massive credit to us for doing that, but where was that in the first half? That's the concerning thing and the disappointing thing. This team's just proven that, okay, we've imploded for the second time in a few Premier League games. Yet we've just proven that we are clearly still a very dangerous team when we really want to be. We win 7-0 in the middle of this, rocky run of form, which is an incredibly rare occasion that any side really wins 7-0. We then take Newcastle to the wire in the end by giving them something to think about. The fact that we can still do that shows that this team hasn't just forgotten how to play football, even though it feels like it has done at times against Bournemouth and Newcastle. It genuinely did feel like I was watching a completely different team. All these fantastic players, Aina, completely, being a completely different player. Milenkovic not being very good. The whole defence just capitulating. And then actually the defence stepping up and really having quite a few efforts on goal themselves in that second half. That's what I'm encouraged by, the fact that we did do that in the second half. And I'm kind of going around in circles here, but I'm pleased that we at least had that effort and desire to get back into it. And there was a couple of penalty appeals, of course. I mentioned the Ola Aina one. Did I mention it in the first half? It was maybe a bit controversial. It wasn't an unnatural position to have his arm in, but it was a handball, so I can see why it was given. But if that's given, then we should have really had one in the second half. Anthony Gordon, I need to see it back if I'm honest, but he was also impeding one of our players. Very big claim there as well. I think really we should have had at least one penalty too. So that's frustrating. And then only having 3 minutes at the end when they had 7 in the first half, Nuno was clearly very frustrated by that. I'm not saying we should have had more, but it always tends to be the case. We have to defend for 12 minutes sometimes in added time, and then we only get 3 when we're chasing a lead. I'm not trying to make excuses, but it's just typical, isn't it? So I'm very disappointed in the first half, but I am encouraged by the second, and I do have faith that we can get a result against Arsenal and City, because at home we've proven we can go toe-to-toe with anyone. Even away we've proven we can do it. So this team is clearly still extremely good at football, but it's also severely being mentally tested right now. Severe mentality problem is going on at the moment, where we can completely lose our heads and concede a few in quick succession, and that's a real concern. And maybe the expectations have been getting to us. I feel around that Liverpool-Southampton game, there was so much talk of, are we going to title race here? The players, rightly so, were downplaying it, but that must have been getting to them. I really feel it has done, and that's kind of played a part. Not signing anyone in January, I think, is, really starting to backfire now, because, okay, we wanted to keep that harmony, absolutely we did, but we also clearly needed a couple of additions. So I am disappointed we didn't sign anyone. It's starting to look like it could really backfire on us. We still are third, let's not forget that, but I have a feeling it won't last much longer if we keep having results like this. No matter how much fight we show in the second half, you can't have a first half like that and expect to stay in the top 3, let alone top 6, 7. So that points gap is starting to concern me. If we have another game like this, we could plummet if we're not careful. And I don't want to be too negative there, but we've got to be careful, otherwise we could definitely drop down, and even 7th it would still be exceptional, but we don't really want to be falling down the table when we've got ourselves into such a strong position. Let's just try and maintain at least top 6. That would be, I think that has to be the minimum now for this season. So yeah, a lot to debate there. I'm sure I'll do a video in the week talking about this or the Arsenal game. Hope you've enjoyed this, everyone. If you have done, please hit the like button, subscribe to Rads if you're new, that would be great. And yes, thank you for watching, everyone. Up the Reds.